Mine's on, we got 11. Good afternoon, Jeff Van Wagenen, Assistant County Executive Officer for Public Safety. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Johnston, Mr. Briamos, Ms. Spiegel. What you'll have today is a very brief presentation from the Sheriff's Department and the Probation Department and hear public comment. For the time when public comment does happen, we have a Spanish language interpreter who will be present to assist any Spanish speakers so that the board will get the full message.
Learn the language.
With that, I'll introduce Assistant Sheriff Jerry Gutierrez with the Sheriff's presentation.
We speak English.
Pleasure to speak with you guys this afternoon in regarding to the Truth Act. If we look at the slide, I believe it's overhead there on the data that we have, just to kind of quickly summarize, the Truth Act has three main components that have an impact on our corrections divisions. You know, we have 5 correctional facilities throughout the county and incarcerate around 3,915 prisoners. The Truth Act components that put in place with the top 3 right there: 1, written voluntary consent from an inmate prior to an ICE interview. The second, ICE notification, inmate notification for ICE holds, notifications and transfer requests. And the third is notification to inmates regarding any release date provided to ICE. Now, the key thing to understand is that the Riverside County Sheriff's Department operates within the law of California, the Truth Act, as well as SB 54 that follows. Now, when it comes to this law here and these types of activities, it's been changing the last few years, so you have to stay on top of it. But when it comes to that, the data for 2017, it's quite clear. Transfer requests to ICE, we don't track, the Sheriff's Department does not track that individually, but it is documented thoroughly in the inmate's individual file. So if we receive a request for notification from ICE during that period, we were notifying the inmate of our intent to notify ICE upon the release for 2017. Now, 2018, which I'll distinguish a little differently, it changes a bit. But for 2017, we did. We don't track it individually, but it is documented. An inmate has a copy of that carbon form every time that we did any of these activities. The ICE notification for 2017, we did notify ICE on every request that they had on notification, and it is documented in the individual inmate's file. Now, transfer to custody for 2017, we had 0 transfers in custody because during 2017, and even for the most part in 18, we released all inmates in the same manner. If ICE wanted to respond to a facility after a person's been released and carry out their lawful duties and carry out outside the facility walls, they did so. But there was no transfer of custody in 17, and so the most responsible person to determine how many folks they picked up would actually be ICE's. For 2018, now that changes a little bit because SB 54 limited the criteria now on notifications. There has to be a qualifying charge or condition, where in 2017 there was no law that required or limited those that we notified on. So there are over 800 statutes in combined qualifying conditions for SB 54 that talks about 18. But for the most part, to summarize it in the most simplest form, we're talking about serious and violent felonies. Those are the charges that the law allows us to notify ICE of a pending release, in which we do. We notify ICE on any charge or qualifying condition that the law allows. So transfer to ICE, transfer requests, we don't track those, but we do document those, and we do honor as permitted by law. ICE notifications, again, only those that are permitted by law that we notify, as opposed to 17, where we notify on all of them. So on those, they're tracked individually in the inmate's file. We don't do individual logs for that. And with that being said, the slight change from 17 to 18 is all inmates are still released in the same manner, but when we notify ICE during the release process, which both for 17 and 18 is estimated about a 2-hour range, when we start the actual release process. If ICE shows up before that release actually takes place, we will actually transfer custody of that person to ICE's custody within the jail. And that is what SB 54 is clearly allowed by law, and that's what we are following. So that summarizes the data for 17 and 18, and I'd be more than happy to clarify anything I know I spoke rather quickly that you may have, or answer any questions.
All right. Do we have any questions from the guys? See any? Okay.
Again, it's an honor to speak with you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Next up is Assistant Chief Probation Officer Ron Miller.
Good afternoon. As you may be well aware, Chief Probation Officer is responsible for juvenile detention facilities in the county. And for the years of 2017 and 2018, we had 0 ICE contacts relative to those kids in custody. For the purposes of the slide that we created, just to kind of give you an idea, we had very few contacts with ICE, period. But when you look at the number of clients that we've supervised over 2017 and 18, we've had 2 contacts for each year, in which ICE informed us that they had a person of interest who had a federal warrant for their arrest, and we assisted them by providing information relative to that person's appointment date and time for that arrest to be effective. And that's the extent of our contact with ICE during those last 2 years. And if you have any questions, I'll be
Very
happy
good.
to answer.
Any questions from the guys? All right, not seeing any. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that concludes probation and sheriff's presentation, and I think you take public comment.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Okay, just a reminder, this is an information hearing only. There is no vote to be taken by the board. Simply informational hearing. So